Ooh, that hit a rock really hard. Hey everybody, welcome back to Gun Tote Minnesota. And today I have kind of a treat. This is a Savage Model 10 and 308. You've seen it on my channel for quite a while. You know it's a good rifle, reliable bolt action. Taking the bolt out because I'm going to do a drop test on this Discovery Optics 5-25 first focal plane. This optic is tough as nails, and I'm going to show you that it's going to hold zero even after a drop test on the gravel and the dirt underneath me here. I might have to clean out some of the sand because it's very sandy here, but I'm going to go ahead and give it a drop from about waist height, as if you were hunting or you're in a PRS competition. Maybe it got tipped over, dropped, something like that, and it does happen at competitions. Sometimes people's rifle falls off a barricade or gets tipped over. That's what I'm going to test with this right now. So about probably waist height for me. I'm 6'5", so that's a good solid drop. And I'm gonna drop it on the side of it, not on the very top. I'm gonna drop it on the side and see if it holds zero with that side impact. Okay, now a drop test. It's probably gonna break my bubble level off the rifle. We'll go right about here. That's actually a really solid height. If it falls that bad, I mean, most of the time that's gonna break something. But right on the side turret on the illumination, didn't break my bubble level. Turret looks like it's okay, but we'll have to test illumination here in a second. Parallax definitely took a direct hit with some of those rocks, it looks like. And you know what? I'm going to do it one more time. Right about here. It's waist height for me. Doesn't look like the rail broke off, which is good. I was curious if my Picatinny rail would break from that impact. It's a heavy optic, but so far looks okay. One more for good measure, just for those doubters, and then I'm going to go test what the zero looks like. Ooh, that hit a rock really hard. So here's when I know it happens from time to time. People will lean their rifle inappropriately. This is leaned against a table where it shouldn't be, but sometimes it happens, or you lean it against a tree when you're hunting, and then something happens and it gets pushed over like that, hits the ground maybe on rocks like this, and initially it's scuffed up. Doesn't look like it stopped or impeded function yet, but we're going to test that out with actually testing the zero. All right, I'm going to clean out my action, get all the sand out of there, and we'll test it up. Looks like just a few dents on the finish, really. Otherwise, it's looking okay. So I have to be honest, a couple of those drops were extra hard. I wasn't sure how that would go. I'm surprised this didn't get broken, actually, with taking a direct dig on the side there. Nothing broke. Knobs didn't break. So there's nothing immediate that tells me that this is not going to function well. I don't hear any jingle when I shake the optic a little bit. But man, did that hit hard. It hit directly on a rock on that illumination, and I did test the illumination, guys. It's fine. It works just like before. So illumination knob is fine. Parallax is fine. Image is still great. Thank you to Warbird Pro, by the way, for sending out my protection here for my eyes. I'm going to go ahead and send 5. We'll just make sure it's exactly where it ought to be. In fact, my parallax setting doesn't appear to have changed. It still looks good. Okay, let's send 5. All right, let's talk through the target. No excuses, but I will explain what happened here. So first of all, I didn't realize that when I was talking to my friend right after dropping it, I had a friend off screen here, right after dropping it, I was like, hey, the turrets are still working fine, and I did actually dial off my zero for windage, not elevation, but I dialed off my zero for windage. And so this rifle with this load will shoot about 3/4 of an inch pretty consistently. Some loads it can shoot a little tighter actually, but for 5 shots, it's fine. My first shot was way over here. Was that sand or gravel in the barrel? Totally possible. In fact, I kind of suspect something there was probably in the barrel, but I can't prove it, and it's fine. It doesn't matter because the core of my group, the next 4, are right here. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4, and it's under an inch. It's actually under 3/4 of an inch. So that core right there is what happened. And then when I noticed that my windage was off, I corrected that and moved it over. And you know what? I have one flyer down there. I'll claim that. Not sure why it went down there, but I don't believe it was the optic at all because the other 4 shots, I went 1, 2, 3, 4, and it's right where it should be concerning elevation and windage when I went back to 0. So yes, the optic held 0 after being pretty brutally dropped, actually. The more I think about it, about how hard the ground is over there when it's been really hot, and I'm on this kind of compact, driven on surface with lots of rocks and shell casings beat into it, and I know it took direct hits. I can see where it took direct hits, and it's still holding 0 really well. I actually had another brand, a big box brand optic that is a lot more than this optic was, and it took a very small tip, just a little tip, fell over, barely banged the windage on that particular optic, and 2 things happened when it kind of collided. First, it broke the windage knob on this other brand. It totally broke it. It was a failed windage knob. And then also I noticed that the ocular lens had totally loosened up from this one minor fall. As far as I'm aware, it was just the fall that caused those incidents. I beat the tar out of that optic by dropping it hard that many times, tipping it over, and you know what? It's still holding 0, so I'm impressed. I think build quality wise, materials, specs, it's doing what it should, so that as a competition rifle or a hunting rifle, it's not gonna let you down. All right, what I'm gonna do next is I'm gonna shoot a little over 200 rounds that I have left of some mixed lots of 308. We're gonna recoil test that and make sure it holds 0 during that time. This is a snappy little 308. I'm just going to burn up some of this on some targets. I would actually like to see where a few of these hit for varmint hunting, but we're going to test the 0 on this and make sure it holds 0. So I'll be coming back to what I zeroed with in the initial and just make sure it lands where it's supposed to before switching to the next rifle, which is actually going to provide even more vibration and impact and even some reverse recoil going the other way. We'll test that out next. Let's see how it does with these. And thank you to Warbird Pro for sending out these Grey Wolves, the Deep State and the Easy Day glasses so I can shoot safely, and also their Intrepid rechargeable RC. These are awesome. Having rechargeable hearing protection makes a lot of sense because I constantly forget and leave my other ones on, and so I just kind of stopped using those, and now I use these. I think these are much superior to the previous models. Let's go ahead and load up a few rounds and we'll see what happens. So I'm going to get sick of shooting paper. I want to practice a little PRS with the ammo I have here. I can't spoil 200 rounds on just paper, so I'm going to throw a few on steel here, a couple 100 yards and 100 yards, and then I'll go back and shoot a 5-round group of what I zeroed with, and we'll see what that looks like on paper. First, let me mess around here for a while. All right, I've expended over 200 rounds of ammo to test this out. Now I'm back to the 100-yard line. I get settled in here, and I'm gonna shoot 5 shots with the ammo is zeroed with. One of those might be a bit of a flyer because the barrel has been fouled with a different ammo, different copper, and the equilibrium between the two could be different, lubricity could be different, but eventually it should settle in there and we'll get a good idea of whether or not it's stable if the optic has done what it's supposed to do, which is hold 0. All right, everybody, let me explain the targets you're looking at here and why this is proof. First of all, these are 2 5-shot groups with my Savage 308 with that Discovery 5-25 and 175 grain SMKs. When I first zeroed the optic, that's this target right here. This is before the drop test, before the hundreds of rounds of recoil testing. I had shot a pair, I made an adjustment, and then I went up a little bit, made an adjustment over, and I ended up shooting right there, and I actually just decided to leave it right there because I know I am real close, and even that, the group is probably 3/4 of an inch, so this was my zeroing target. I put that aside. That was the first day, and then after the drop test, after shooting hundreds of rounds of ammo, I shot this target today. This was my last one before I left the range today. I had shot a bunch of 147 grain, some crappy ammo before this, and I'm wondering if that first shot, this was my very first shot, I wonder if I either slipped off the bag or the barrel was getting acclimated to the new copper and the copper equilibrium or the lubricity of the brass and the copper. There's something about that is possible, but doesn't really matter. That's just a real high flyer because you can see the core group is right there. It's about a 1/2 inch group. And if you compare it to the original target here, you can actually tell that the rifle has remained 0 after all of that. What's up next, guys, is a recoil test that is even more firm than this and something that is known to break a lot of high-dollar optics. But this one, I believe, is going to hold up. So stay tuned for part 2 in the series.